What's up, everyone? It's Brian here. Welcome back to the channel. So Warped Tour 2025 has been announced and everyone's excited for it and it's super awesome. But today I wanted to talk about why Warped Tour 2025 is going to be great, but maybe not for everybody. So let's just jump right into the topic and talk about what we do know. As of the making of this video, we don't know anything. We know that it's been announced, Warped Tour is coming back. Kevin Lineman, creator and founder of Warped Tour, he said, hey, this is a thing, 2025, it's happening in association with Live Nation, which a lot of people are probably not happy about. I don't really know the ins and outs, but I've heard that anything associated with Live Nation, excuse me. Sorry, I've been having some soda. Not sponsored, by the way. I'm just thirsty. But from what I do hear, Live Nation is notorious for having high ticket prices, and I don't know how or why or how any of that works, but this is kind of one of the reasons why everyone's getting excited for Warped Tour. Cue that meme. Back in my day, Warped Tour was only $40. Yes, it was back in my day. I was attending Warped Tour from 2010 all the way up until 2018. And I do remember Warped Tour tickets being $40, which is insane. Even for the times that I went, that's super cheap to see all those bands. But, on one hand with Live Nation, and on the other hand, it's just inflation, man. It ain't gonna be cheap. I know that. I would kind of probably stack this on the same level as When We Were Young, and Warped Tour 2025 is probably going to be expensive. So yeah, on one hand, yay, Warped Tour was announced, but maybe not everyone's going to be too thrilled about it for reasons like this one. But moving on, I don't have any organized reasons as to, oh, you're not going to like this, and that. I'm just kind of talking here out of my ass, I don't really have a script written out. I took a couple of notes and I'm watching Warped Tour videos, but really, I just wanted to talk about why, I wanted to talk about some things to consider when thinking about Warped Tour 2025. And the next reason why the next reason why Warped Tour 2025 will be awesome, because I believe that it will be, but again, not for everybody, is just the whole nostalgic bait kind of stuff, Warped Tour is a classic cultural music festival. It really was impactful to those who attended it. If at least it was for me anyways. I loved the Warped Tour. I have great memories there, and I think it's awesome. And I've been seeing a bunch of YouTube videos and TikToks about people that are excited for Warped Tour 2025. It gets announced and they get their Blink 182 merch, or their My Chemical Romance band t-shirts, or Pierce the Veil shirts, and and they're getting all their Vans shoes on and all that kind of gear, which is cool. It's fun to see, but that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, to take a step back and examine, it could go that way or it could not. And what I mean by that is because I guess this can kind of go both ways. On one hand, Warped Tour can just go the nostalgic route. On one hand, Warped Tour can just go in one direction and cater to those fans that want to see Blink 182, that still want to see Pierce the Veil, and all those older bands, My Chemical Romance and things like that. They very well could pull that off, and I don't know. I think that'd be awesome, and that probably gives lots of reasons to be excited. But on the other hand, they could go a completely different route, which is kind of traditional for Warped Tour if you really look at it from on a year to year basis. What am I trying to say here? I guess Warped Tour is kind of notorious for playing newer, fresher artists, and they don't really keep the more well-established artists that come out of that scene. I mean, sure, they try to, but I don't blame the bands that like kind of outgrow Warped Tour, and they do arenas now, and they're like, why would I go to Warped Tour when I can make a lot more money doing my own headlining tour? You know what I'm trying to say? Like like back in my days when I would go, the bands that would play were like Pierce the Veil, Asking Alexandria, Motionless in White, Falling in Reverse. All those names now are well-established bands. I'm gonna throw in Bring Me the Horizon there too, because Bring Me the Horizon just blew the hell up. Like they did a song with Ed Sheeran, who is on the radio consistently. Like a lot of these bands really grew up and broke out of the scene, and they're just known. They play on the radio, and super famous bands. Like, I mean, Warped Tour is super famous and super cool too, but like, I mean, let's be real, when it comes to making money, it's like these bands could just whip up their own headline tour and make a lot more than they'd make on the Vans Warped Tour. Not to say that these bands wouldn't play. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, let's take a step back, and what I originally was trying to say is newer bands, smaller, fresher bands that appeal to a younger audience is what would probably play the Vans Warped Tour 2025 if they keep that formula that they've been doing. And you can kind of see this, like, if we look at the timeline from Warped Tour, you could see like they just keep throwing newer artists. On one hand, you've had years where Warped Tour had Blink 182, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Avenged Sevenfold, Paramore, the Black Eyed Peas, Eminem. But those bands or artists, they didn't really come back. They got well established. They made names for themselves out there. And I wouldn't put it past the bands that I went watching. Again, Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, Motionless in White, blah, 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 all of them. I wouldn't put it past them to think like, oh, I'm too big to play Warped Tour now. Like, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why Fall Out Boy even like stepped out of Warped Tour. I was reading something about they went in 2004, 2005, and pretty much the stage collapsed because the crowd was way too big. And like, I don't blame them for not going back. And anyways, these bands could still headline Warped Tour. Like, I could easily see bands like Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, Motionless in White. I could see them playing the main stage of Warped Tour. I mean, those bands are huge, don't get me wrong, but also they kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me. They scream Warped Tour band, and I could see them doing that. But also, I could see Warped Tour 2025 playing a lot of newer artists that are like, the new popular ones on TikTok that are, not as big as the bands I just named now. And, just for example, I could see artists or bands like Swayco, CZYK, Across the White Water Tower, Her Last Sight, Low Spirit, Echo, just to name a few. Those are just if Warped Tour decides to go with the classic route where like, here's a fresh new bands to listen to, like, an artist. Like, I could see them having these types of artists with the legacy ones playing the headline stage, which is one of the reasons that I'm trying to say here. Like, Warped Tour is going to be awesome. It's going to be really cool, but maybe not for everybody. Maybe not if you're here waiting for like, if you're basically thinking this is going to be When We Were Young. Like, this is not that festival. This is Warped Tour. And, I've never been to When We Were Young. I got my tickets for this year, so I'm super excited for that, to see all those bands. But, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited for this year's lineup for When We Were Young, I wanted to go since the first year and second year, but anyways, this is the first year I'm going. And when I saw that lineup, to me, that lineup screamed Warped Tour. That was my nostalgia bait. And, yeah, I mean, next year's Warped Tour could be doing that, but like I said, they could also be playing a bunch of newer artists that maybe the older generation isn't too familiar with, or maybe they are familiar with and they don't really like them. To each their own. Anyways, what was I saying? The fact that Warped Tour is kind of more targeted towards a younger audience is one of the reasons why I believe that we will be seeing newer and fresher bands that kids listen to instead of the older ones, which it kind of sucks. You know, it is gut wrenching to think of the bands that I like as the older ones, but I mean, we're pretty much at that age where emo night is basically just 80s night for our generation. Come on. But that's not to say that Warped Tour wouldn't go the nostalgic route. They very well can. Um, Again, I went to Warped Tour 2010, 2018, not 2019, and I don't really know too much about the 2019 thing, but when I looked that up, it said something about, actually, I'm just going to look it up. Okay, so when I look up Warped Tour 2019, because I don't know too much about it, yeah, so they did have bands like Blink 182, Bad Religion, The Offspring, Anti Flag, Andrew WK, Taking Back Sunday, Atmosphere, Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, Thrice. Like, they could. Ugh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. This thing is more gassy than I thought it was. But yeah, they very well could go the nostalgic based route and do something. I would love that, you know? I mean, they could get all the bands from pretty much like 10 years ago, or even more than 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago. Like, they could go that route, which would probably suck for some other people. It could suck for the kids that wanted to see bands like Swayco or Echo, CZYK, for example. Like, you know, the newer upcoming artists that you don't really get a chance to see. This could have been their breakout scene to have them grow up and be the next generation of legacy bands. But anyways, if you're like, forget about them kids, it's my time to shine, then yeah, I would love for it to have, you know, my favorite bands, Pierce the Veil, Attack Attack. Ooh, maybe not Attack Attack. They've changed. Have you listened to their new stuff? I listened to a little bit of it. I have a reaction video that I'll leave in the description. But I love old Attack Attack. And who else would I want to see? One of my favorite bands is Alisana, but I'm going to see them next month, actually. But, you know, that generation of music, Chiodos, Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, all that kind of stuff. The Warped Tour era that I grew up in. If they do that again, I ain't going to be mad, but maybe somebody else will. Maybe the people that wanted to see Blink 182 and Less Than Jake and all those bands, maybe they'll be like, oh, Warped Tour sucks now, but you didn't hear it from me. Anyways, what else am I really trying to convey here? I guess that's it really, is that we don't really know what to expect of what Warped Tour 2025 is going to be. I mean, we don't even know if it's going to be like a cross-country trip the way it used to be. It could only be in just a few locations, and that would suck. Well, maybe not for everybody. For if it's in your local area, you're probably not going to think that it sucks. But who knows? It could be high ticket prices. It could not be. It could be a cross-country road tour. It could not be. It could have all the cool 2010s emo metalcore bands. It could not. I don't know. We really don't know anything about this, but I think we are expecting some news to come out about this in just a few weeks, according to some posts and articles. It's coming. And you know what? It's almost October and we're at the end of the year. It's coming. It's coming next year. That's insane. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention real quick before anything else, too. I did make a video talking about my metal predictions for 2024, and I legit said there's going to be some sort of Warped Tour comeback announcement. I knew it. I said it. I'm going to leave a little clip or something for y'all to see, but ooh, I just had a feeling. Anyways, if you haven't heard of those two, you're probably familiar with Warped Tour. And anyways, I'm predicting that we are going to get some sort of update this year about Warped Tour. But who knows? Maybe we will be getting an announcement for Warped Tour Revival 2025. Wouldn't that be awesome? And yeah, the whole purpose of this video was to kind of take a step back and really think about all the possibilities of Warped Tour. But nevertheless, I'm excited. Are you excited for Warped Tour 2025? If you are, I want to know what era you attended the Vans Warped Tour and what bands you're excited to see. Would you want it to be the same formula that it's been with like 50 plus bands and like how many stages? I don't know, 20, 25 stages? Or would you want to see something different? Would you want to see something maybe more like a smaller festival, like When We Were Young, or what's the name of that other one? I never went to it. The All Stars Tour, that one always looks so cool. I looked up those videos. Or Mayhem Fest. I think that those are smaller than the Vans Warped Tour. I could be wrong, but yeah, I want to know what you guys think. Are you excited for Warped Tour 2025? Are you in fear that it's not going to be the same anymore? Or actually, here's a genuine question that I want to know. Do you feel too old to attend Warped Tour? Because I don't. I feel like I'm still pretty good. I am a millennial. Like I said, I went from 2010 to 2018, but I'm hyped. I'm willing to go. You play the bands that I want to see and I am going. But I don't really know what like a age limit is to stop going to Warped Tour. On one hand, if they go like the targeting for kids and playing all the newer bands, like I like some of those bands, CZYK and Echo and all them, like I listen to them and they pop up on my TikTok and I'm like, yo, this is pretty cool stuff. But I mean, if that's the route, I probably wouldn't end up going. I mean, I'll just go to When We Were Young. Well, anyways, that's it for today's videos. Thank you for letting me express my thoughts here in the only way I know how. And yeah, if you made it this far, let me know by leaving a like down on the video below, and I'll be back with another one later.